Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's day is Friday the 29th of August 2025, the year BSV comes alive. Branch your threads, expand your mind with treechat.ai or your post put on chain. Right, let's see what we've got today. We've got this epic post here from Kurt Whattock Jr. giving a summary of Roy Murphy's Galaxy. So quite looking forward to going through that. Obviously, some absolutely epic posts here from CSW. We'll probably go through one of these articles that he's written. The Bureau hunts a whale, all about privacy in Bitcoin, which is fascinating. We'll go over this post here from Brian Doe, which is saying, we're excited to share a major milestone at Smart Ledger Tech. Today we unveiled a national framework to digitize the 2.4 trillion US municipal bond market, unlocking billions in savings for local communities and transforming how America funds its future. That sounds massive. And we got Michael Rechtenwald, who is a fan of the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin, which is BSV. It said, in case you need further evidence of who controls the country, the Wikipedia early life section is under attack by the House of Oversight Committee, thanks to ADL pressure. Furthermore, the House Oversight Committee wants information regarding the individuals that composed and or edited anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic content on Wikipedia. What's next? Neuralink implants to detect anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic thoughts. It's probably not far off, actually. Jeepers. But this is why the world needs Bitcoin to record history. We will have a quick look at the figures. Got some 365 days of Bitcoin history. And then we'll finish with a Kerlenschweller countdown. Right, let's get into it.
Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Alrighty, here we go. Looking forward to this then. So let's see what Kurt Whattock has said about Roy Murphy's Galaxy after Project Babbage called it vaporware. I'm sure that Kurt probably wouldn't be that direct because he's a very, very politically correct and very polite individual. But it will be interesting to see how he phrases that. So let's see what he says here. He starts off, so I've been asked by multiple people to look at Galaxy Node by Roy Murphy. I saw Tide dug into it too, and I just wanted to report my findings. And again, we know Kurt's articles here go into extreme, or Kurt's articles go into detail. So let's see what he says. Summary first of all. Galaxy describes itself as an ultra-high performance BSV node built in Rust. It promises features like 1 million transactions per second with some specialized microservices. The README cautions that the software is not consensus ready and is only a pre-release for testing, which is important to consider when reading the rest of my feedback. After reviewing the code, most of the sophisticated features are placeholders rather than working implementations, which I would argue is okay if there hadn't also been claims of hundreds of millions of transactions per second possibly occurring with the implementation. Yeah, exactly. So the claim of 100 million transactions per second is completely unfounded, is another way of what he's saying there. Positive aspects, he said, clear structure and documentation. The repository is well organized into separate microservice folders with descriptive names and detailed README that explains the intended role of each. The vision on these is clear and frankly exciting. Modern Rust practices. The code uses popular Rust libraries, Tokyo for async networks, CERD and bin code for serialization, Prometheus for metrics, and Governor for rate limiting, showing the developer understands contemporary tooling. That's very complimentary there. Thoughtful architecture. Each service defines request/response messages, starts a server listening on a port, collects metrics, and calls other services over TCP. This demonstrates planning for scalability and observability. Security considerations. Even in its current form, the project includes JWT-based authentication and role-based authorization, plus support for rate limiting to mitigate. Issues. Right, let's see what he says here then. Missing core functionality. Each services library module, lib-rs and service-rs, contains only a placeholder. The logic is in main-rs, but many functions are simplistic or unimplemented. For example, the consensus service lacks real block and transaction validation. This was stated in the README, but again, I have to reiterate that there were very specific scalability claims made on social media, which really shouldn't have been made, in my opinion, because they're unfounded. No real network integration. Although the services talk to each other locally via TCP, there is no implementation of BSV peer-to-peer protocol. What? Important features like transaction propagation, unconfirmed transaction management, and chain synchronization are absent. Unrealistic performance claims. The promises of 100 plus million transactions per second and 50,000 plus shards are not supported by the code. Interesting. The current implementation does not benchmark performance and uses simple message passing that would not achieve such throughput. Placeholder services, the mining, torrent, overlay, and validation services define request/response types but contain no actual mining logic, torrenting, or SPV proof. You need that. Incomplete storage and consensus. UTXO storage is handled by the SLED key value store and Tiger Beetle client, but there is no persistent database schema or concurrency. Consensus rules are largely unimplemented, so the code cannot verify blocks or participate in the BSV network. Well, that's just fucking ridiculous. The code cannot verify blocks or participate in the BSV network. So basically, Roy Murphy is trying to encourage people away from using BSV. Would you believe it? In short, while the project is neatly organized and uses modern Rust frameworks and impressive scales in the README and largely aspirational, much of the code is boilerplate or placeholder, and critical components needed for a working BSV node are missing. Oh, would you believe it? I'd also like to give a piece of advice to anyone who cares about BSV. There is no reason to be unpleasant in the statement of the truth. We have been through a lot. So again, Kurt's just saying, I'm just stating what's obvious. Don't come back at me on this. There is no reason to be unpleasant in the statement of truth. We have been through a lot, as we are all we've been through a lot, as we are all primary focuses on criticism by the people who hijack Bitcoin. Yep. This made some of us respond by being toxic, becoming bitter. Just block them, mate. Just block. That's it. Shitcoiners get blocked. End of. Becoming bitter, or by becoming too hopeful, or really wanting there to be a champion leader to help us get revenge for what has happened to the Bitcoin economy over the last 10 years. Instead of any of that, we need to be honest, respectful, industrious, and we need to be good to each other. Yeah, very good. Galaxy is not a working product, but it also isn't a bad idea. And with a lot of work, it could be a really cool implementation, especially because Rust is highly performant. But it also begs the question, why not wait for Terranode to be public and open source and then simply implement that Rust? Well, exactly. I hope this post will be helpful to people who are interested. So it sounds like it was just a subversion tool, really, to me, is what that kind of reads. Which, you sort of come to expect these days. Christian Eger-Hansen, Shadows. Could we put Roy Murphy in there? Subverters. Who knows? There's just so much industrial espionage and sabotage going on. It's crazy, but I think Roy's put effort in there. Was it nefarious? Was it well intended? Doesn't seem like it was well intended because it doesn't include BSV. Oh dear. But anyway. Right, let's have a look at CSW's post here. So it looks like he's commenting on his own post here. He said, one large payment is a confession. 1,000 small ones is lunch. The new story out now. Bring an umbrella. Expect drizzle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was in response to his post here where he says, Here's something new and gloriously ordinary. The 1,000 Little Coins of Ledgerford. It's a funny, sharp, long-form tale about a city that worships big gestures and a woman who vanishes in plain spending with a drizzle of tiny, unremarkable notes. No capes, no secret societies, just small standard transactions behaving like weather while a bureaucracy armed with red yarn tries to catch a whale that refuses to be a whale. He says, here we go. This satire with receipts. Privacy done by doing far more than the ordinary, independently and with varied timing. So there's nothing dramatic to point at, just lunch. It's warm, wiry, and a little bruised. It laughs at pamphlets, worships good record keeping, and leaves the lighthouse to ships that enjoy applause. If you like your fiction, while bite-sized economics bureaucrats farce and formosisms, you can shout across the street. That's one for you. Read it, share it, argue with it over coffee, then read it again whenever someone insists the only big shiny gestures are honest. Yeah, absolutely. Don't need big shiny gestures. You can be honest. You can act in the private. You're not doing anything wrong. Are you causing any harm, injury, or loss by using Bitcoin? No, you're not. Right, well, all the statutes, legislation and acts of parliament don't apply to anybody who's living in the private. So do one. We're just simply like acting economically for our own benefits of society. And this is keeping society honest. But we know the big boys don't want that. So let's see what this article is like then. 1,000 Little Coins of Ledgerford. Loving the name, Ledgerford. I'm small now. Now, lunch hypothesis. Whoa. So let me get this straight. Not only does Craig post on X, he writes these Medium articles and Realm articles, and he's like, making a farm and everything else. Like, jeepers. Let's see if we can. Let's see if there's a conclusion. We'll do the start and then we'll do the conclusion. Be monumental in habits, not in payments. Oh yeah, absolutely. Loving that one. Be monumental in habits, not in payments. That is a great expression there. Loving that. So we'll maybe start, we'll finish with across the town, the bureau, obvious, and then let's see what this is. So the 1,000 Little Coins of Ledgerford. How to vanish in plain spending. 1 purse, 1 hour, 1,000 ordinary notes. Alice Drizzle wanted a thing, not the sort of thing that earns a parade, more the sort of thing that makes life tolerable in small, disreputable ways, like a very well-made coat with too many pockets, or a book whose title you keep under the dust jacket. Perfectly legal, perfectly private, and therefore enormous interest to everyone who had nothing to do with it. That's sarcasm there, that's funny. In Ledgerford, people collected other people's purchases the way children collected beetles, not because they are useful, but because they wriggle. Her employer was Sir Payroll, who believed that morality increased with denomination and visibility. The carpet in his office spelled out in capital letters. You could see from the hallway, even when trying not to. Big payments are honest. That's a dig at Greg Coyne and BTC. It was woven into the shade of red that legal departments used to signal danger and interior decorators used to signal money. Sir Payroll loved the sound of single hefty transfer makes when it clatters into the ledger. He called it the thud of integrity. He also loved standing close to lighthouses, convinced the light made him glow. Alice had learned that lighthouses are very helpful until you are the boat. Helpful until you're the boat, yeah. She opened her purse. It coughed. That was the wallet. A brass-bound creature, somewhere between an accountant and an umbrella stand, and with hinges that creaked like ethics in a budget meeting. The wallet had a voice like a ledger, remarking last year's numbers were interesting. Proposal, it said, as if unrolled in a blueprint drafted by anxious spider. 1 hour, many tiny notes, values between a few coins and a handful of small bills. Timing varied, routes varied, announcers varied. Every key unique. Change never reused. Will look like weather. Is that legal? Alice asked, out of habit rather than doubt. More legal, said the wallet. It's ordinary, just not singular. Alice liked ordinary. Ordinary is a camouflage for free. The wallet continued, warming its own sermon. Yeah, this is great. Public service announcement. Post on the tram next to the map. A lighthouse is very good at telling everyone exactly where you are, especially the rocks. Fog is not a crime, it is a weather. If you wish to arrive somewhere without applause, travel in fog. If anyone complains you are hard to see, suggest they stop staring so hard. This has been a message from the Department of Reasonable Discretion. Loving that. Loving that. Now let's see how it sort of concludes at the bottom. Here we go. Across town, the Bureau of Obvious Observations filed a report of heroic neutrality. The cover page promised findings. The findings promised the existence of transactions. The executive summary, bold, centered, unafraid, declared the ledger contains many transactions. Appendix A added with academic courage that some of these transactions were small and some were not, and that many occurred at times when time was occurring. Appendix B reproduced charts which, unprovoked, proved only that rectangles can be persuasive. A rectangle can be persuasive until someone asks them to sit an exam. An intern who had learned the delicate art of surviving correct conclusions slipped a new title into the onto the whiteboard. Lunch hypothesis ongoing. The director underlined it twice to show leadership. The libertarian analyst drew a small umbrella in the margin and refused to explain it because not everything needs a legend. Alice left Bob's shop and stepped into a street, practicing twilight. The city smell of rain, considering its options, and bread decided how honest to be about butter. She walked past the tram depot, which insisted it was later than anyone needed to know, and past the bank, which reset itself to now, and past the cathedral, which chimed nevertheless. No one followed her with a chart. No one asked her for a confession disguised as a receipt. In Ledgerford, this counts as a happy ending. At the end of the square, a new billboard had replaced an old advertisement for spectacles that made reality pop. The billboard did not pop. It suggested in letters large enough to be read from the cautious side of the street. Be monumental in habit, not in payments. People looked, nodded, and forgot they'd nodded, which is the best way you can ask the best you can ask for from a sentence that intends to live in public. Bob turned to his sign from still open to closed-ish. A distinction important only to philosophers and late customers. The wallet checked its gaps for tomorrow, like a sailor checking the tide. The bureau turned off its lights and left the charts to glow faintly in the dark, a reminder that rectangles sleep. And the ledger, indifferent, democratic, hungry, ticked on, recording all small, ordinary things with the serenity of a book that knows it can be opened, proved in slices, and closed again without anyone needing a lighthouse. Closed-ish. I wonder if that's a sort of metaphor for the deep state surveillance. Yeah, they're going to be closed. They're always going to be there. You know, Satan rules this world. Unfortunately, the best we can do is kind of like push him into a corner. So closed-ish. Could that be what Bitcoin is going to do to the deep state? You know, it's always going to be there. The banks are always going to be there. However, the Book of Revelation says that Satan is cast out into the lake of fire. That's what he says. You know, Bitcoin is the only way. It's the only way. All right. Okay, let's get on to this one. This is exciting. Brian Doty said, we're excited to share the major milestone at Smart Ledger Tech. Today we've unveiled the national framework to digitize the 4.2 trillion US municipal bond market, unlocking billions in savings for local communities and transforming how America funds its future. By leveraging a public blockchain, our new public utility model moves beyond crypto speculation and delivers what citizens, public officials and markets truly need. Lower costs, more funds to communities, a $200 million city project would save $90 million over the bond's life. Instant settlement, TNO, that eliminates systemic risks. Democratized access to residents can directly invest in the schools, hospitals and roads they depend on. Radical transparency with real-time dashboards for citizens, auditors and regulators. Defense-grade cybersecurity built for the era of state-sponsored cyber threats. As my colleague, that's J. Alexanderman, Dr. Horace Causa, put it, for public officials, this represents a new standard in governance, compliance built in, trust built in, transparency built in. This is about modernizing regulated securities with a framework that ensures fiscal responsibility, transparency and community empowerment. We are now forming a consortium of pioneering municipalities to lead this transformation. If you're a public finance leader, policy maker or civic innovator, we'd love to connect with you. Oh wow. That is going to be absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. Wow. Alright, and let's get on to this one. So, Michael Rechtenwald, who is a fan of the original Bitcoin, which is BSV, in response to Dominic Michael Tripp saying, new, Wikipedia is reportedly being pressured to remove early life section after ADL refers it to a coded hate weaponized to promote bigotry amid House Oversight Committee investigation. Yeah, and Michael has said here, and I think he was running for president at one point, a presidential candidate. He said, in case you need further evidence of who controls the country, the Wikipedia early life section is under attack by the House Oversight Committee thanks to ADL pressure. Furthermore, the House Oversight Committee wants information regarding the individuals that composed and or edited anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic content on Wikipedia. What's next? Neuralink implants to detect anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic thoughts. And again, these won't be anti-Israeli or anti-Semitic. They'll literally be reporting on the history of what happened, and this lot just simply don't want it to fulfill their totalitarian one world government agenda of hiding all the history that they've been doing for the last 3,000 years. Absolute bastards. Bastards. But this is why the world needs Bitcoin. We have an immutable ledger where history cannot be deleted from us. And this lot have got all the history they've been collecting over the last 3,000 years and before that. In fact, they've got historical records that go back 78,000 years. You know, they've got them, all hiding them in the Smithsonian Institute as well. It's outrageous. Right, let's have a quick look at the figures. That's 22 minutes gone. Transactions up to 43.2. Block size though 77.37. Biggest block 24.26. Yeah, 26 megabytes there. So probably more data in two of those blocks than the entire column of a Greg coin. B crash, no blocks over a megabyte, and a Fisher Price cash can't get all the blocks over a kilobyte, let alone anywhere near a megabyte. Yeah, look at that. Currently 23,000 times cheaper to transact on Bitcoin than Greg coin. Oh, mining Bitcoin at a 4% comparable profit. Fantastic, fantastic. The miners will be pleased. They will be pleased. And remember, we're looking at prices that are historic market lows. So if it's already it's more profitable to mine at prices when they're historic market lows. Like, what does that tell you? Oof. Yeah, we'll have a look at the. Oh, look at this. Look at other miners on B crash. So a Greg coin, other miners 9.03. Oh, B crash 13.89, but Fisher Price cash, look, other miners 60% on there. 60% on there. And then CoinDance obviously not reporting the true mining figures on their site. But that's alright because we've got them here. We've got QD Link 26.6, Kuv 18.67, Tau 18.6, but then Tau Terranode 15.33. So really they should be combined together. 18 plus 15, so it was like 30, 33, 34. Yeah, 34% there really. So that's mine in the lead. SA100 10.67, Gorilla Pool 6.6, and Mining Dutch 3.33. So it'd be good to see Gorilla Pool see what their mining is like once they go over onto Terranode. But we've got 7 miners on there now because of Tau Terranode. Excellent. Right, it is the 29th of August. So on the 29th of August, we've got a Bitcoin email 31 from the Marty Malmy emails. And then we've got a quote here from CSW, a little Endian. What's all this about? Big Endian code problems. The code assumes little Endian throughout and was written with the intention of never being ported to a big Endian. Every integer that is sent over the network would have to be byte swapped. In addition to many dozens of other places in code, it would not be worth the extra source code bloat. Big Endian is on its way out anyway. A little bit of Bitcoin history there. And the last one here, 29th of August 2017. Oh, the first Bitcoin global bull run was underway in 2017. Let's have a look at this. Here, this is where it was. Look at that. Oh, here, this is where it started. Right about there. So August, we're looking at the 8th, end of August. 24th of August. Yeah, look at that. Look, that's where it really started. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. This is where history was made. The world's first ever Bitcoin bull run, where it went up to $17,000. People were going crazy. Now people are just like 60,000, over 100,000. Jeepers. Yeah. Made a few mistakes on that one, I did. But never mind. So there we go. Let's finish with the Kellenspieler countdown. It's the 29th of August. We've got 20 days left. So remember, hit like and subscribe. You're not going to want to miss all the shenanigans that happens between now and then. It's going to be absolutely epic. So until then, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
The king still has one more move.